Hi, my name is Mark Anthony DuBose Jr. I was born July 4th of 1986. I'm going to say thank you for tuning in. Today, I'm going to talk about a book, not really much of a book, but a course that I took to figure out how to be able to work with these dogs to get them to get into a better place. And it's a weird, man, I just woke up this morning thinking about this again, but the concept of we go to school to learn some stuff. We don't really go to school to learn how to have what I want to say is proper's not the word, but just, yeah, that's the word, healthy relationships. Just how to be able to get along with people in a way that is like, I don't want to use the word natural, but just healthy, just strong, being able to maintain bonds, maintain friendships, be able to keep the peace in the workplace, be able to just be able to have a good time with knowing how to interact with people and at the same time knowing how to push the people away that you just shouldn't be around and shouldn't be around you. How to be able to do that in a healthy way. We learned so much in school. So today, this is the book or the book I guess that I put through from the dog training school that I went to. I mean, there's a lot of stuff. Every page, there's multiple slides of stuff that we're studying and going through. We're doing so much. Looking at puppy stages, looking at uh, trimming nails, all grooming stuff, all kinds of stuff. Agility stuff, protection stuff, scent work stuff, assistance dog stuff, uh, resource guarding stuff, just all kinds of stuff to just learn about the dog. Just stuff after stuff, dog to dog socialization. Personally, I wouldn't recommend any of that I learned in there on how to socialize a dog. Temperament test, how to be able to learn the dog, how to do the test, and like I said, the rescue to figure out like who the dog is, which is already a sketchy situation because the dog is already in a not the prime of its life to be able to recognize who that dog actually really is. So we're trying to do these tests of these dogs, and in reality, most of it is just extreme punishment that the dog is, it's not right how we're trying to work with these dogs. Senior care for dogs, dental care, first aid, even had to do a CPR classes, know how to do CPR to dogs. There's just all kinds of stuff in here that we're going through. This is just a ridiculous amount of information that I went through twice in reality because I did the course and then I went to the internship to just do it all again. And I sat in every single lecture again just to make sure that I got everything figured out. That I thought that if I knew more and I had more information, then I would be better at being able to help people with their dogs. And I was like super excited. I wasn't excited when I got done with the course itself because I just had this like, I didn't have the skills yet. I didn't have the experience yet. But in the internship, I got to work with lots of dogs. I got hands on a leash of lots of dogs. And it gave me the confidence boost that I needed to say, I know what I'm doing here. And then something real sticky came to me that I got home with the dog that was like so good with doing all these guidelines and all this stuff in this book. But the dog was an absolute nightmare. Because there's one thing that this book and the saying that just education does to us. It doesn't teach us how to have a proper relationship. It teaches you how to train something. It teaches you how to get something done, but it doesn't teach you how to have healthy relationships. It just teaches you just how to do and do in reality to get the best of whatever you want out of it and not really caring about what the other thing is. That's what, that's why workplaces are so toxic because there's always these challenges. That book that I just talked about yesterday, Punished by Rewards, because it puts everyone in the company to just have to fight against each other to get that promotion, fight against each other to get the pay raise, to fight against each other to do anything, to fight against each other to get a pizza party on the weekend. It's like they pin you guys together, and that's not healthy in any way. But that's like what we learn. That's what dog-to-dog socialization that I learned in school is like. You're gonna pin the two to like try to get the validation, to get the reward, to get what it is they're looking for. As opposed to just saying, I'm gonna look at both of them as an individual and say, what do you want? What do you want? What are we doing here? I'm not gonna force you to this, I'm not gonna force you to that. I'm gonna figure out what's gonna be the best for all of us here to be able to make sure that we get along in a healthy way. That we're not fighting for competition. That we're not fighting for attention. We're not fighting for anything. Because that's the number one thing that I just see with dog-to-dog fights. Because when I started to actually go for hire, to go to people's homes, I realized like, this book is worthless to me. Everything I learned in that school is pretty much worthless for the problems people were having. If you want to know how to get your dog to do AKC obedience routine, okay, I got you. You want to know how to do any kind of obedience routines, I got you. Like I know how to do obedience stuff like up, down, around. I know how to get a dog to stay in a place bed for hours and days, and you can leave and come back. I know how to do all that stuff. Yeah, I could do all that stuff. But I realized that none of that helped anything of the issues that are actually going on, like the relationship issues that are going on inside of the home. None of that helped. So that's where it's interesting to me on how that's the part that I get it. Everybody needs to stay in their lane with what it is that they do and stop trying to mix the two. If you're an obedience trainer, stick to doing obedience. Don't go to someone and say, I know how to help you with their said behavioral issues, so-called, that are going on in your home, and they're going to come in with your obedience stuff. It just doesn't work. And that's the problem that I see going on today. We're all trying to come at this that's the best way, the only way I can say it. We're trying to get help. We're trying to get our problem solved in an intellectual way, as opposed to it just being a nature's natural way. We're trying to come at it with how smart we are. I read all the books. I did all the research. I studied it all. I got A's on all the tests. And now you think that you got all your problems figured out. And in reality, the more that you know, the more challenged that you are, because you start to go down that loop that I'm in, that I just don't feel like I have any other choice, because I just want to consume as much information as I can. But I do know that this is the thing. I know from my own personal life, the more information that I keep consuming, it is not going to make me better. It's not going to give me the clarity. I used to read books on like, oh, once I read this, I'm going to know more. No, I no longer look at life that way, because that's not true. I'm not going to get smarter and then my problems are not going to be okay. I'm not even going to start to put in action from the smarterness. I don't know if that's a word or not. The smarterness that I've gotten because of the intellectually more that I understand and doing. It's got nothing to do with any of that. It's got everything to do with just getting down to the core bones of just who you are. What do you want and what are you looking for? It's like the same stuff that always just comes up. Because I went to this school in hopes that I can help people out. But I realized quick that I'm giving superficial help. I'm not really helping you, because I really wasn't helping my own self. My stuff was a mess, and I'm trying to go to you and say to you how to be able to do this. Then I started to get into the sticky part of it, people. All these trainers, I'm not going to say everybody on this, but all these trainers out here are talking about how they're so great and how they're so good, but their stuff is a mess. It's a mess. It's chaos. Or they don't even have nothing. They got nothing. And then they're going to try to come to you to explain like how to do some things. That's the part of me that's weird. That's where you're trying to I intellectually know what I'm doing, but you don't know how to actually do anything. You don't know. You know the research, you know the information, you know the studies, you know the because the big thing that we learned in this school is the operant conditioning. You know all the positive rewards, you know the positive punishment, you know the negative punishment, you know it all. You know how to classify each thing that's going on. If I remove the dog and I put it into the crate, what is that? You know all that language. You can write it down, you got it all figured out. You're like, if I give a dog a treat when he does this, I know that's a positive reinforcement. You know all of that. But yet, why isn't that giving most all people on this planet today the help that they actually really truly need? Why is it that it's an unfortunate thing that more and more dogs today are getting worse and worse and worse, and more, forget the dogs, more and more people are getting worse and worse and worse with what's going on? Why is it that everything that we study doesn't come down to how to have a healthy relationship with somebody? How is it that we just constantly keep on working more and more into this and thinking that I'm going to finally get that aha moment, then I'm going to be good? It doesn't work that way. And I believe that I gotta make another video on another book. Well, I got many other books. I don't know how far I want to go with books I want to keep talking about. I got too many books that I can keep talking about. But the main book that a lot of people have issues with is the book of the Bible. A lot of people think that if you read the whole thing, you're good. You got it all. You got the answers. You got to figure it out. That's far from the truth. In reality, the more that you read it, to study it, to memorize it, to know it, the more further away you're going to be. The more challenged you're going to be in life. The more that you're really going to struggle way more. Because now you have this idea in your brain of my intellect knows it all, so I should be good. And then when you're not good, then what? Then you're just, oh, I quit. That didn't work. It's not for me. It didn't do nothing for me. It didn't make anything happen. And then we're at a complete standstill. Because that's how I felt. I went 8 months, a little bit more than that, almost 9 months of going to this dog training school and coming out of it saying, I know what I'm doing. I got a real good grasp of what I'm doing. I handled a few dogs and things were going really good. But the thing is, I handle the dogs in the sense that dog training represents. You take the dog out for work and you put it away. You take the dog out for work and you put it away. That's how Mike Kahi lives. He's a experiment in reality of seeing how this stuff really works. Because he's the one that's super complicated to me, because I'm treating him differently than the work them and then put them away stance. Whereas my other dogs, we live together. we're always together. Everything is always, we're just like stuck on each other all the time. And there's no information on how to be able to actually properly do that. There's all this stuff of how to get your dog to sit, how to get your dog to obey, but how to get your dog to listen to you and want to listen to you for just who you are. That's where the disconnect is happening. That's where some people, it's almost like the information is purposely being taken away. It's purposely being just hidden for some reason. Because in reality, the more that we keep punishing with rewards, the more that we're going to keep on seeing our world just go to absolute chaos. Because all we're doing is fighting with each other. We're fighting with each other for everything. Everything. We're fighting with each other going to the post office, to the DMV, because you want to be the first to get in line. You got your ticket and you got there and you start to get mad when you see a number that called that's before or whatever, after yours gets called before you, but you don't know what's going on. They probably had an appointment, this and this, but you're hostile with that person because they're going. It's like our world is set up to just make sure that we are in chaos and conflict with everything. Everything. It's forcing us to just have to fight with each other to get anything that we want on this planet. And that's not the way that the world is set up. It's not how it is. The world is set up in a completely different way than that. But it's like we're getting all this information today of you have to basically sabotage your coworkers to be able to make it, to be able to get past something, to be able to make it somewhere. That's how everything is set up. That's how this dog training school stuff is represented with the dog. I got to make sure that I am always on top of the dog to get the dog to want to do for me. I got to always dangle something to give that dog just a little bit of hope of like, you might get more if you do better. That's so toxic. That is evil. That is not healthy in any sort of way. To always dangling something over their head of you, if you don't do it, you don't act right, you're not going to get this, and or you're dangling the whip in the hand. If you don't do it, I'm going to whip you then. You're always dangling something over them to get them to move, to get them to react, to get them to respond. This is how we as humans are living today. This is what's going on with us. This is why it's so challenging for most every single person to even work anywhere anymore. Because that's what they're doing. They're dangling that promotion over you. If you work harder, if you work more, you'll get it. And then what happens? You don't get it. And they say, oh, it just wasn't your turn. It wasn't your time. But it'll be there again for you next year. So if you keep doing it next year, we're dangling it right there. They got this extra vacation time. If you just do this, we'll give you more vacation time. Let it not know. I'm going to say something messed up, because I just understand how work stuff works. Those are the books that are the best books that open my eyes up to like just wanting to go down this path of like learning more, like what's actually going on behind scenes. But they'll say, oh, if you do this, we'll give you more what do you call it, paid time off or something. But all that's actually happening is they're stealing your time to give you time back that makes you think that you actually got time back. They'll steal 80 hours of your time to make you work harder so that you can get this paid time off. You'll get 8 hours. Oh, let's even make it generous. We'll give you 2 days of paid time off, but you got to do this here. They're dangling this, and you're working 80 to 100 hours to get 2 days off, 16 hours. You're not winning here. You're losing. This is what's going on in like most all workplaces right now. You're constantly losing. They'll put all this over you to just like, you're going to get there, you're going to get there, you're going to get there. And then it's just, and then they don't give it to you, and or they give you they give you a little dose to make you want to work even harder. Like, yeah, I do want to get that. It's things that I don't think most people, this is the thing that I know for a fact. The younger folks, they see this stuff that's going on today. It's like, they're just like, this is why it's weird with a lot of the older generation, especially not I guess the people that are, I don't know where I am. Am I a millennial? The X? I don't know. Whichever one. So 50s, 60s, 70s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s. I guess this group that's above me. But all the younger guys today and the younger girls, they're all complaining, oh, they don't want to work, they don't work. It's like, because they can see the lies that are going on, that it just doesn't make sense to them to force themselves into it. They're almost in a way of like, I hope that the older people get out so that we can come in and make the new rules that are actually going to benefit us, that we're actually going to appreciate, that we're actually going to want to have to do. It's like the world is like starting to see things that are actually going on. And it's the younger people that are seeing it more than the older people, because in reality, you're 55 years old right now. You've been living your whole life in this. So to think about getting out of it is going to be like one of the hardest possible things on the planet. You're like, oh, no, that is a good deal. Well, I worked that 120-hour extra overtime for them, not even getting paid the overtime for it, because they found a loophole of how to be able to make sure that you're hired for 36 hours. But they say if you worked 40 hours this week and then you do all that, then we'll give you the 2 days. You're like, oh, that's a good trade-off. Not seeing the numbers here, not seeing what's actually happening here. Forget, half off topic for a second, but seeing how it's confusing, how it's slippery, and it's the simple fact of how every single news station has been telling me that the price of, what is it, Something I don't eat bacon. Bacon, oh, it's gone up 20%. It used to be $6.99. Now it's $15.99. That's not 20%, but that's how the games that they could play to us because we're not questioning, we're not pushing, we're not giving any pushback. Let's say, oh, the inflation it's 10% this year. But it's like everything that I purchase is like almost 100. My feed that I buy for my animals is 100%. I used to get bags for $6.99. Today, I just looked at the price. I was trying not to even look at the price anymore because it's just like, man, knowing that $6.99 I paid for it 6 years ago, and today those bags are $15.99, $15.89 for the cheapest one. $15.89 over $6.99. That is over a 120, almost 130% increase. That's a huge increase. That's not no 10%, 20%, but they could do that to us because that's what we're already primed to know. We'll dangle this little thing over here to make you feel good, to give you something, to make you think you're working hard to be able to get something for yourself. And then they give you that little bit. That's that punishment through reward. It's all that I learned in that dog school. It's how to make sure that something is always going to be on edge, nervous, sketchy, not sure, never super confident, just always just, where's that next fix? That's all that I was getting. That's all that I found. That's all that I seen in my own personal stuff. And then when I go help people, give them the same information. That's all the same stuff that I've seen. And it's like, why is it that this is constantly just pushed and pushed and pushed? Because for me personally, once I understand and see the difference in the dog, I started to notice the difference in myself with how people and companies are trying to do and trying to be with me, how they're trying to treat me, with how they want me to be, how they'll shove these ads at me to try to make me move. How they're like, oh, it's a good deal. I'm at the H-E-B. People don't know what the H-E-B is, but I'm at the grocery store one day and they always try to get you with these deals. It's not a deal because you're not even going to eat it. You're going to throw it away and end up spending more. The deal of, oh, we'll get you $3 off. So I got some, they got some real good tamales in there. I don't know what it is, but this H-E-B is a phenomenal store. But they got these tamales that I had 2 packs and $3 off. And I'm like, man, that's a deal. But I always, ever since I started understanding more about like the whole rewards things, I started challenging, questioning, and kind of just putting it away, not even trying. I'm like, no, I'm not going to get the 2 because I'm not going to eat the 2. There's no way I'm going to eat the 2. And I don't want to freeze it because that's just weird. They're already made. And I don't want to deep thaw. It's probably not going to taste the same. So all I'm going to do is spend more, get a little bit of a reward for spending more to only just still throw it all away. So I actually still spent $8 more in the end anyways, as opposed to saving the $3. That's how the world is. It's all that they're pushing at us all day with everything that we got going on. Buy 2 pairs of shoes and get one half off. Buy 3 shirts and get one for free. They're dangling these rewards over us, making us think that it's a good thing. And it's not. They're just taking more and more and more from you. More and more and more is what they're taking. You know, things started to get funny with me when it was like, you can get a can of beans for $1, but you had to get 5. If you got 2, you got to pay the regular price. So you only get the deal if you get 5. You ain't gonna eat the 5 with beans. I'll say stock up, keep on handing that. But you ain't gonna eat 5 beans like that this month. That's gonna take you a little bit to be able to get through, unless you eat that much. But usually it's not the items that you are consistently needing. It's these like things that are just shine that just come up to say, hey, this is a good deal. You should get it. And you're just like, I gotta go get that deal. And you don't even want it. You don't even use it. It's just gonna sit in the back until the day you realize like, oh, okay, I just gotta throw that away now because it's not worth anything anymore. And that's just the concept of like the world. So of course, if you're irritated with work, how you think your dog feels with you doing these same tactics on that dog, the same tactics that you got with work. You got this hostility at work with a coworker. I don't know why I want to call them employers or employees, but you got a problem with your employer, but you got a problem with your coworker. You're sitting there gotten this like this little tiff going on. Why wouldn't you think that same tiff is going on with you and your dog inside of your home right now? That's the same tiff. That's the same problem. And then that same tiff you got with the dog, I guarantee you this. You got the same tip with your wife. You got the same tip with your kids. You got the same tip with everything in your life. All your family, everyone's bickering, battling, everyone's in conflict because that's just all that all these so-called rewards bring is conflict. It brings conflict. It brings problems. It brings us to get to a point that we just have to start to fight. We have to start battling. We have to start trying to get at each other to get something that we need. It's not set up to make sure that you can be able to flourish, so that you could just enjoy, so you could just appreciate what you have and just like say, hey, you know, I got a little extra, I got some for you. And that book yesterday, I think I'm gonna talk about that book a couple more days here because it's got so many little things in it that's just it's like it's eye-opening. It really is eye-opening to see because the more that we're having to fight with each other to be able to get the said reward, the more that they have us under control to be able to get to do whatever they want with us. And that's where it's complicated because that's how it is today. they're threatening firing everybody. That's all you hear on the news. This company laid off 20,000. This company laid off 15,000. This company laid off 100,000. Then when you see that, you're like, man, that's my company. You know, I work for that company, and they just laid off 20,000 over there. They're going to do that over here. And then what does your company do? We might not even know if all this is even true or not. People probably got laid off, but some of these companies are so big that you don't know everybody. They might not even laid anybody off, but they threw a punishment out there. And now they put through a punishment upon you guys. Now, you see, they let them go. You need to work harder now to be able to keep your job. And then they throw the reward out there. Say, if you do this, then we'll give you a little bit of extra. And basically the extra is, we're not going to fire you. You're going to be able to still maintain this job. When you're living under conditions like that, you's one stressed individual right now. You are so stressed. And that's why I want people to really read that book, that punishment one, because if you stress like that, how do you think your animal feels inside of your home right now? What do you think your dog is going through? You think they're just living good because you're doing the same stuff to them that your employer is doing to you. You're doing the same things, the same practices here. You're doing the same stuff at the store. How they're like, oh, there's a deal, and you're like, oh man, it's just out of my reach. I can't quite get that deal, but I want that deal. And then you get that I guess it's a good way of saying it, that fear of missing out. Like, I need it, and then you try to go get it, you get it, and then you realize in the end, man, it really wasn't all that great that I thought it was going to be. Then you got your eye somewhere else to get something else now. You're just constantly going and going and going. That's the consumerism part that gets going. You just say, I need that next one, I need that next one, I need that next one. I need more, I need to find more, I need to get more, I need to have more, I need to be able to hold on to more. Because you're looking for something that you're never going to be able to fulfill. Because that's where a lot of this stuff turns people into addicts. It turns you into an addict of eating food, turns you into an addict of buying clothes, of buying shoes, of all this stuff. It turns you into an addict that you need the next one. And then you get it and you're like, oh man, it's not as great as I thought it was anymore. And then you need the next, you need more, you need more. And if you start to feel that way, you start to see yourself in that sense. What do you think's going on with your dog? And why do you think that you have a horrible set relationship with that animal? Because you're not treating it in a healthy manner. You're treating it in a very toxic, evil way. That's the unfortunate thing that I see just this normalized today, is being evil. Normalized today of just taking advantage of people. Normalized today of just forcing people to comply or else. That's just normal. That's just how the world is set up today. And it shouldn't be that way. It hasn't, there's no way that it's always been such a way. There's no way. There's no way. And the way that things are just moving, so it's just fascinating to me to see like the progressions of just my life, what I've seen. I'm sitting here playing my computer, something weird going on with it, but I know computers so well because I was there when we were first getting these desktops in our homes to be able to purchase. Like, my dad was crafty. He was building these things. He got all the parts, and that's how I know how to build and do. So I got an issue. I know how to go down to the bare bones, to the core of what it is, because I grew up in that. It was just fascinating. And it's neat to be able to see the progressions of that to where we are now. And it's going so quick. And it's going so quick in a way to try to make us forget how things, this is the thing. I hear this from a lot of, especially guys that are like 80, 90 years old plus right now. I wish we can go back to how it was. When someone would hear that and say, oh, that's just that woe is me type stuff. But personally, I believe that things were different. Whereas today, we're trying to fast track stuff so much to make us forget and to move into this newness that is just, it's toxic. It's absolute evil. Where it never used to be that way. It never used to, that pressure was never put upon you, because workplaces were much different in the 50s, 40s, 30s, 20s, 10s. People would work for 80 years, no problem there. If you could work 80 years, but they would work 40 plus years, no problem. Today, that's almost like an impossible thing because of all the pressure that the employer is forcing on their employees, as opposed to bringing the employees up to say, hey, we got you. I got your back. Oh, you need insurance? You hurt? I got you. You need a day? I got you. You need to take a week? I got you. Because I want to keep you, because I know we're going to be able to benefit with you being here. But today, oh, you're sick, you're fired. It's like, man, you got no loyalty, no nothing. But that's the system that we're set up in today. That's the system that I see in the Simple Dog Training. That's why folks are struggling, because I don't like using that word, but straight up, it is what it is. We're being evil to them. Man, I just watched a movie. I haven't watched movies in a while, but it was just a crazy movie about basically if the dogs got their senses of like doing to us what we do to them, every human on this planet is going to die. We're not going to make it. These dogs will take us out. If we do to them, I mean, they do to us what we've been doing to them, how we've been treating them, how we force them to obey, so they're going to start to force us to obey, or else. And then we're not going to make it. We wouldn't make it. And that's something that really opened my eyes up of like really looking And my animals are saying, hey, I'm so sorry. Because these dogs, I've got 5 here. All 5 of my dogs, 2 of them, if they really wanted to, could take me down and just take my life right now. If they were literally in the mind of being able to do such a thing. And that kind of forces my brain to look at them differently. Of like, if I don't want to do to you what you could do back to me. I want to be able to have what I want to say is a healthy relationship here, that we're both working with each other, not against each other. Because the moment that we're working against each other, and that's the problem with the dog, they're so submissive. I don't care how dominant or strong the dog is, they're submissive to us as humans. They're very submissive. They don't go all out. When dogs even bite people, for the most part, they don't go for the tear their limbs off or do anything like that. It's for the most part, like 99.999% part. There's those weird anomalies out there. Obviously, always. There's weird anomalies of human beings that could take another human being's life and just laugh at it. There's those anomalies that are always going to be there. But we always have to look at the majority and the main. And the majority is the dogs are so submissive, they just fold. They're like, okay, whatever, I quit. I'm not going to do it anymore. Imagine if that dog didn't. What if that role changed, that the anomalies were the ones that just submitted like that, and all of them that if you put a leash on it and you yanked on that dog and that dog turned back and it just took a chunk out of your shoulder, would you still be doing the same training practices on that dog? Because this is why we can't do it so much human to human on a physical way anymore, because we wouldn't last. We'd be fighting like crazy. But now we just do it in a psychological way that in reality, at the end of the day, it makes it worse. And that's what we're doing to the dogs. We're no longer trying to do it in a physical way, because they were saying that yank and crank stuff is no good. We don't do that no more. But okay, now we'll just do it psychologically. Now I'll just dangle this reward over your little nose and say, you want it, you want it, you want it, you want it. What you gonna do for it? What you gonna do for me? Oh, you didn't do it right. Oh, what you gonna do for it? What you gonna do? Oh, you didn't do it right. And doing this to the dog, you're psychologically playing games with a dog that's evil. And we wonder why we're having problems, why we don't have good relationships. We have toxic relationships going on, evil relationships going on. And that's why dogs don't want to be around most people, because we're playing these games with them that makes the dog not want to be there at all. Thank you. Something that, I don't know what it is, something weird going on. I'm looking for these little water suppressor things that I can attach to the hoses and stuff to be able to let the water bleed if it gets too cold so they don't freeze and break. And a deal came on. Buy one for, what was it, $32.99. I was like, man, y'all got like a 4 or 6 pack? Give me a deal. And I looked for the 4 and the 6 pack and I found them. And the prices, it was no longer an average of $32.99. It was an average of $38.99. There's so much of this that goes on that's the stuff that I believe that we should focus more of seeing the silliness that's going on in our day-to-day. You think you're getting a deal, but you're not. You're actually getting abused, used for someone to just gain and to know that you didn't really pay attention. You just did. You just said, oh, I just want the 4. I don't need 1. And then you did it. And then they ended up making it off of you. That's how we do these dogs. So imagine that you bought it and then you looked at it and you realized the price, you saw the unit price and you're like, 30, yeah, I thought it was $32. I could have just bought 4 of the singles and got a better deal than this. I could have saved myself like 20 bucks. And then you feel cheated. I know you do. No one just does something like that happens to you and you're just like, woohoo, yeah, I just lost $20. No, you feel cheated. You feel ripped off. You feel scammed. All that you go through, just know that that's what's going on with the dog. The same thing. The same thing. Same thing is going on with that animal. Maybe not so much the cow or the chicken or anything else, but these dogs, the same thing is going on. They feel cheated. They feel scammed. They feel used. They feel abused. They feel neglected.